I'm Danica Lorer, and this is Lit Happens, your celebration of the literary arts here in Saskatchewan. I'm honored to talk story here on Treaty 6 territory. It's a place where people have gathered to listen and tell stories for thousands of years. This is our first home-based episode, so we brought in a guest that we've had on the show before, so we know that conversation will happen, and we've got a really good guest for you. Amy Jo Ehman is an award-winning journalist and writer. Her books include Out of Old Saskatchewan Kitchens and Prairie Feast. Her latest book is Thelma, A Life in Pictures. Amy Jo, it's been so long since I've seen anybody, and it is so good to see your face here today with us.
It's great to be here with you too, even though we can't be in the same studio. I feel like we're having a personal conversation.
And someday we'll get to sit and have a cup of tea again together in person.
The day will come.
It would be fantastic. So even though we're set in this weird time, books still happen. And you have a lovely new book that's like many of your other books and writings, there are pictures and there is lovely conversation that happens throughout the book. So Thelma, A Life in Pictures. Thelma's sort of a hero here in Saskatoon. What led you to this project?
Well, Thelma was a hero in Saskatoon that I had heard of, but I had never met before. I was familiar with her photographs when she first was showing in the galleries in the 80s and the 90s. But it happened a couple of years ago that I had reason to reach out to her and meet her and just to see if she was interested in doing a book together. I knew that she had this wealth of photographs. Plus, Thelma's father and grandfather were both very skilled amateur photographs, and their photographs were such a rich archive as well. And I approached Thelma to see if she was interested in doing a book together, and obviously she said yes.
Well, and what a time to do it in. She was getting up there in years, and it just, everything seems to have been just at the right time with this project.
You are so right to say that, Danica, and no one can predict what the right time is, except sometimes when we're looking back on it and we realize that things have happened at the right time when we were ready for them to happen. So when I met Thelma, she was 98 years old. And we worked together for 2 years. We were really far along in the project when the COVID shutdown happened. And at that point, I was no longer able to visit her at the care home where she lived. So we would communicate by phone, and I would send things to her. And so we kept moving the project forward to the point where the book was published. And I'm so grateful that Thelma lived to see our book come out in September of 2019. She passed in December at the age of 100, which was such a sad day for me. But like you say, the timing was right for both of us. We got this book published while Thelma was still with us, able to tell me her stories, able to help me pick the pictures that went into this book. That just means so much to me and to her family, and I know it meant so much to Thelma.
So did she have a favorite photo in the book? Is there something that stood out as something that she was really happy to have?
A favorite photo? You know, Thelma loved the photos. She was very, I guess, what's the right way for me to say this? Very connected to the photos that she took. And her photos were primarily, at least when she started out, of senior women who were in their 80s when she met them. And she felt they had such wonderful stories to tell. But I'm wondering if we wanted to ask what her favorite photo was, we'd probably have to ask her favorite photo that she took and the favorite photo that her dad took, because she was so, she cherished the photos of her father, all the photos of her growing up and with her siblings. So I'm not exactly sure what she would pick to be her favorite photo, but I know that she loved those photos that her dad took. She often talked about the women that Thelma had this memory like a trap, even though she took these pictures of these women, and often she went to their homesteads or their small towns and that sort of thing. She remembered every detail. Every detail. She remembered these women and their names and their life stories. And some of those life stories were super important to her. They really sort of galvanized her feelings about growing old and how to grow old with passion, to grow old with spirit, to always be living your creative self. And she might pick one of those women as her favorite photo. But gosh, actually, Danica, you've sort of caught me not really knowing exactly how to answer that question about Thelma's favorite photo.
Well, what about your own? Do you have a favorite photo in the book?
Oh man, there were so many of Thelma's photos that I absolutely love, some of which didn't make it in the book. She has hundreds, literally thousands of photos between hers and her dad's that I had to choose from. And there's only, I think, like maybe 100 and almost 200 photos in here that we actually had to narrow it down to. One of my favorites is probably the one on the cover, if you don't mind me showing you. This is one of my favorites of her father. This is Thelma. Oops, I'm going to get it so the light's not shining on there. Thelma as a little girl reading a book. Reading was so important to Thelma, so important. It just is a theme that ran through her life, and the fact that her father got this beautiful picture of her as a child, probably about 8, and so we used it for the cover of the book. In terms of her art, boy, some of her panoramas, I have to say, Thelma took these amazing panoramas. She had such a unique technique when it comes to panoramas. They're all black and white. Many of them are outdoors, but many of them are indoors as well. And they just capture me right now. I just love her panoramas.
Well, we're coming close to the end of our time together, but it's been such a delight. And one of the great things about this time is that we have a chance to see Thelma's work, not only in the book, but also at the Remy. And that's I think it's a real gift to all of us. And the way they've set up the exhibit with other female photographers as well. So I just want to congratulate you on your part in this story. And one of the great things about Thelma was the way that she captured story. And there is story in every single one of those frames. So I'll head it back to you for a final comment about the book.
Seeing Thelma's photographs on the wall at the Remy Gallery has been so amazing. And you speak of stories. Every photo in this book comes with its story, and it was such a joy of mine to be able to tell those stories of Thelma's and bring them to the world.
Thank you so much, Amy Jo. It's been such a pleasure to talk to you today. And these are weird times, but there's still beauty and joy. And I guess that's another thing that we see in Thelma's pictures and throughout this book. So thank you.
Thank you, Danica.
So this has been Lit Happens, and I am so glad to finally be in front of you again. You can find me on Facebook or Instagram, or you can contact me at danicalorer@gmail.com. Thanks for watching.